Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here to share with Sergio and Lala the joy of this beautiful award and of this day of friendship and human collaboration. So, first of all, I want to thank you, Nicholas, for the very generous speech, and Riccardo as well, my friend, which I am so happy that he is now taking care of the Italian community in Kolkata and Eastern India. We have beautiful projects together, and I am sure that with his help we will progress doing beautiful things in this area of the world, which is the most beloved by myself. So I am especially happy that all these, not casually, but of course there is a little plot behind, took place in this very place, Apanjan, where if you go there, we'll see there is the plaque in the name of Miss Lina Matino. Mainly because these symbolize a constant, idea which I have tried to bring in my action, that Napoli and Kolkata are two cities very similar. So all what we have done here has been shared with our Napolitan friends, led by Gennaro Matino, a great father priest who has supported our work. And we owe a lot to him. And when Apanjan was completed with the great help of Father Gennaro and the association that we had created together called AMA, which is the acronym of Associazione Mondo Amico, so friendly world. And as you know, AMA in Italian means love. So that was, the spirit of this association, which then has developed into Ama Sempre, which is a kind of brainchild of Ama, which has continued the work in the last 15 years, and Sempre, for who is not Italian, means always, means a continuity of that work. And so here we celebrate not only the beautiful achievement of my great friend Kallol, who, as Nicolas said, is a visionary, who has made incredible things, starting, I think we met very little after he had started. We met, as Kallol reminded, in 1998 in the lawn of the St. Lawrence College, introduced for this encounter by Shurab Mukherjee, another great humanitarian guy who had founded the Young Men Welfare Society. And Shurab was a kind of mentor of my first experience in Kolkata regarding how to work for the destitute children, because with his society he had started picking up children from the street, mixing them Muslim and Hindu, and giving them a bright education, getting in the afternoon the same spaces and same style of teaching of the rich, say the welfare children of the morning in St. Lawrence College. A very genius idea, which I appreciated, so we started working together, and we have built some other houses in the villages, and the work of Shurab has been for me a guide here in Kolkata. But let's say how everything started. I mean, my friends have already said even too many things regarding my work, but I would like to remember the key moment in which, in the mind of a poor man, it started, this idea. Very simply, as it has been reminded, I am a chemical engineer, a PhD in chemical engineering. I started my work after the degree with an American company. I tried to skip from hydrocarbon processing because the petrol is meddling from many points of view, and I was very lucky to find a beautiful company which was, on the contrary, making water treatment, so at least water was pure. And I was very lucky in my job, so after 13 years, I have been appointed managing director of the company. In that moment, I completed an internal pattern which I had developed since my university time, when I have shared the dreams of the beautiful 60s, which, you know, in the world have been a magic period, when the youngsters, for the first time in history, at the age of 20, had not to leave to make war, as it had happened. Unluckily for all the generation before us, we were blessed by the possibility at 20 years to stay at home and to go to university. We had so many privileges that some of us have started thinking, what should I do to repay this great gift which life is giving to me? And we have started dreaming of a better world. So this dream has continued to be within me, also during my activity in the industrial company. And at the moment in which they offered me the position of managing director, I had a very deep crisis, which was completing this internal process of asking continuously, what could I do to repay of all these privilege which I have been donated. So very simply, after 3 days and 3 nights in which my poor wife, Gloria, was not sleeping because I was not sleeping. I was in my room and I had to take this decision. I went to the president and I brought him back the letter saying that I could not accept, and I was renouncing to the position. Internally, I had decided to try to start, even in a very, very challenging way, the road to a new life. So I left the job, very honestly, very sincerely, without any trick, without any, I was very linked to all the person of the job. So it was very friendly, very, very, very collaborative. I started this new life. I created the company Indrapur Cinematografica because I thought that I had to have something physical, concrete, who could help me in being interested in something I could love, to put my energy within to start. And of course, cinema is a very fascinating world, and I had the luck to have as my best friend a very, a companion of school. We were in the same class at the age of 14, and we were 3 great friends which have grown together. So at this point, I thought that because he was planning a film in India, I could have been the mean to support this plan, and also the mean to come, now that I have taken my choice, to come to India. And we started. But internally, my dream was to have an opportunity to start working seriously in the spirit of what I was telling before, to help the others in terms of repaying, my privilege of having got so many gifts from life to the less fortunate people. So that was my internal prayer. Since one beautiful day, I met Sister Battista, which was, in this sense, the turning point of my life. Everything happened for something which I have made a very, very serious consideration, in the sense that we all know that is still something which has never been answered, even by the greatest philosopher, if our life is shaped more by the fate, as the Greek called it, something which was not driven by men, but by some forces which were stronger than our will, or it was more driven by the free will, so our human contribution to determining the path of our life. internally, my very humble position is that actually faith is very important. It is there, and it drives our life, but till certain point. The point in which, in our happenings, it happens that, like in a cross of a road, we have a magic event which is the encounter. I consider the encounter more than the meeting that is planned, but encounter which is brought to us by the faith, but it is the moment and the opportunity in which we can utilize our free will and we can determine something which can turn also the direction of our faith. My great luck is that during my pattern in India, faith has brought me to have many beautiful encounters. And probably my only little merit has been that when I have felt that fire inside, that something was happening, when you meet a beautiful person, when you meet a beautiful human situation, a beautiful place, a beautiful country, something in yourself may take different attitude. You may say enjoy, but maybe let it pass, or you may respond and put your energy, your joy, your say desire to improve this encounter, and this is exactly what has happened all along my life in India. The first encounter, generally speaking, has been exactly with the country, and I have felt in love with India. Now, to feel in love is something very peculiar and very individual, because as it is very well defined, especially in Shakespeare, who is the great author that through his drama has probably displayed and treated all the aspects of human beings. When you fell in love, you can have two attitudes. Loving a person or a country, you may desire to possess it for love, even positively, but to possess. Or you may desire a kind of abandon which is to be possessed by love and be filled up by the beauty of what you are receiving because you love, but you let this love come into yourself. Personally, by character and, I don't know, by nature, by DNA, I am in this second attitude. When I love, I am very happy to be possessed. So this happened with India. India, in its vastity, not only physical, but spiritual, philosophical, emotional, mood of the people, you can never possess. Nobody can possess. So whoever has thought that through intellect or through war or through politics could possess India has failed. In the Victoria and Albert Museum, there is a beautiful plaque reporting a sentence of Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, in which is written, "We came in this country aiming to conquer, and when we left, thanking God, we realized that we had been conquered." A simple but profound thinking, which tells everything about India. India conquer you. So I was conquered. And having been conquered, after I met Sister Battista, I realized that it was arriving the moment that my great prayer had been, satisfied. Because I met Sister Battista by a combination of faith and free will, which I could tell, but first of all, it's too moving. I could not resist. And second of all, takes maybe too much of your time. But let's say that we met for a combination of these two circumstances. And we met, of course, in Indore, in Nandanagar, at the Social Welfare Center. I arrived with a three-wheeler, and I was not even sure that she was there. But I had crossed from Bombay to indoor, hoping to meet her, because I had some sign that she could have been the person. You know, there is a telling that when the pupil is ready, the maestro appear, the master appear. I was in a moment in which I felt to be a potential pupil, and I was aiming to meet my teacher. So I went. And she received me. She was there, thanking God. I had not even the change to pay the three-wheeler. She paid the three-wheeler. It was more or less 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we stayed together continuously. She didn't know me. It was my first arrival. Of course, I was a friend of a friend, Mr. Virendra Singh Bubar, that I thank always for having introduced to her. And we left at 10 o'clock in the night after visiting Nandanagar, when the last step was the little, we call it nido in Italy, means the place of the baby room, where there were the little children which had been, rescued by the temple or by the street, by Sister Battista, who was assisting these street children. And the evening finished with something marvelous, because when we entered this baby room, one who had just arrived from a few days was crying in a terrible way. And even the sister were not capable to stop her. Sister Battista went, took her in the hands, and put in my hands. Now I was terrified, because even with my daughters, I have been always very much in difficulty when I had to enter, because I was afraid that I could have not been enough able to take them as they should have been taken. But by miracle, when Sister Battista put me, this little girl, in my hands, she stopped crying. Because during our afternoon conversation, she said, it is very rare that I decide to create a kind of moral adoption with foreigners, because they come one, they fell in love with the center, then they disappear. But by the will of God, she had understood that I would have not disappeared. So she looked in my eyes, and the name of the little girl which was meant was Kavita. And she said, Kavita, like to say, will you think to be a good adoptive parent? Of course. I said yes, and we made a call to Gloria at home. I explained her the whole day, and that I had this little girl in my hands, and now Kavita has the name Kavita Gloria, and she is a marvelous girl of 39, and she is now, she should have come, but she is such a good young manager that because the boss was on leave, the boss said, no, Kavita, sorry, you cannot go because you have to substitute me. So she is at the level of substituting a manager in a company. And I have here the joy of having other two, little boy of the time, which Sister Battista symbolically put in my hands in the same way, which are Amit and Kalpana, and Bhavana, who has been put in the hands of Auntie Stella, with the same kind of love which was generated in Nandanagar. So that is just to tell you how it happens that within this evening, either I like it or not, all my friends generously have spoken of, I have heard the name Sergio so many times. For me, honestly, normally is embarrassing, because not by chance I am doing these things from the last 40 years, and I know so many of yours, but you know that, I mean, I have never been searching to be in a first position, because I believe that to be humble is a great gift of God, and if you have a low ego, you can do things much better than if you have a large ego. So I mean, I am very happy and honored this evening, but nevertheless, I feel a little embarrassed. But by the way, the beauty of the whole story is that, as I was telling before, encounter has been, in my belief, and I tell this for the youngsters here, when you encounter, I mean, when you meet, but in the meaning also that is brought by chance, by fate, a beautiful person, a part of the possibility that you totally fell in love, but even for friendship, which is a sentiment even bigger than love, don't give up. I mean, defend this sentiment and try to build with whoever is there the possibility of a growth, which will bring to marvelous results. In my story, I had another moment in which I have been a little bit discovered in my activity, is when in December 2007, thanks to the initiative of my beautiful friend in Kolkata, I received the civic reception from the corporation of the municipality of Calcutta and the mayor. The speech which I gave was on the, say, power of friendship, a non-violent and peaceful power to transform utopia and dreams into reality. How? Through the beauty of connecting people who have similar aims, similar vision of life in terms of doing things for the others, and try together to make this dream true. I have been very lucky because practically all the initiatives which I have taken along my long story have been achieved, by which they were offering this civic reception as my friend of the Gold Mercury Award, which I deeply thank for their generosity. Silently, after President read the story of Lala, have started searching what this Sergio had done, and we are here this evening, so thank you for that. By the way, what I want to say is that if that night in Kolkata, in the beautiful room of the civic reception, which was the old, say, space where they used to join the corporation, and there were statues of Gandhi, of Tagore, so I was, completely emotional. But by the way, I am very emotional also this evening, because it has been a common choice with Kalol, with Nicholas, that the best place in the world where we could celebrate this beautiful moment was Apanjan. Because here it is the symbol and the reality of how it's possible to help these street children to have a better life. So this evening I would like to put together the friendship which was celebrated during the civic reception with this beautiful concept of the importance of the encounter. Encounter is at the root of the friendship, and put together a beautiful reaction to this chance of life that you receive during the pattern driven by the faith, that you meet a person or a situation or a country, then you can decide internally and with your behaving if to let that develop as something we can bring to further joy and recognition and realization, or let it go like that. I had only this luck in life, that by nature I have been enthusiastic. When I meet a person, I feel that there is, something similar which can give rise, and with them we have made so many beautiful things. Okay, this is the sign that I have 2 minutes. So, very briefly, I would like, out of the different subjects that I had passed in my mind, to go to a little detail which, in my opinion, is very important. Because, trying to understand the things which life has brought to you is always very important. Sister Battista one day made, I tell 2 things, if I am permitted. First, with Father Gennaro, after many years that we were working with Sister Battista in Indore, with all Neapolitan young fellow who had followed us, Maicela, and we started saying, but how is it possible that Mother Teresa and Sister Battista, they never met? In fact, every time I was meeting Mother Teresa, she says, oh, I know my sister there, so beautiful, so she's doing marvelous work. But believe me, Sergio, I have not so much time. Sister Battista equally, Madhya Pradesh. Oh, I imagine if I don't know Mother Teresa, yes, I would like, but that. Then with Gennaro, who is like me, very stubborn, we decided that we would have been the ones to make a meeting the two great saints of Christianity in India. And that happened with the help of Shurab Mukherjee again. And Sister Battista was so generous to come from Indore, because with Gennaro we planned it in this way. You go to Indore, you pick up Sister Battista, of course sharing, to come to Calcutta, where I am preparing Mother Teresa. We meet under the shape of Shurab Mukherjee, who is an old friend of Mother Teresa, working with her since '68. And this meeting will happen. So it was. So the two great saints of Christianity met. Now, why this is important? I come to the second point. First of all, because it was marvelous. But then Sister Battista told Mother Teresa, it was the 5th of March 1995. I had worked more or less 10 years in Indore. She was reporting to Mother Teresa the work which we had done together, to ask her blessing and to say that we were very happy to start similar work in Kolkata. In fact, immediately after, through Shurab, I could meet Kallol, Shubarna, Somnath, and all the friends with whom then we have made the things here in Kolkata. But it's important because, you know, a symbol is a gift which I received from Sister Battista. She gave me as a present, after the many presents she had given morally, symbolically, and spiritually, a physical present, which was a canvas representing Jesus Christ in the cloth of an Indian sadhu, sitting in a yoga position, so to reconnect Christianity and, you know, Hinduism and Buddhism. Why this is important? Because in my long experience in this country, often working with my beloved sisters and, you know, with Sister Battista, with Mother Teresa, I could realize that in the long story of human beings, where there are so many combinations of values, of, you know, sorts of behaving, when you put together the beautiful sentiment of nonviolence and compassion of Buddhism and of Hinduism, in a way outside of the approach of Christianity, which in a more active way say, help your neighbor and love him as yourself and act for him, it can happen something marvelous. In my humble experience in life, I must say that I have never met situations so spiritually high and so practically also, say, bringing to wonderful result to help the poorest of the poor, like when this melting has taken place. The compassion and non-violence of Hinduism and Buddhism, and the action driven by love for the others of Christianity. So I consider of having been extremely lucky for having taken part to this way of being, you know, doing something for the others. That's all. And I think that the speech which I have heard were very generous. But I have to say that no one of my 152 trips to India in my 50 years of love for this country has been done because I had to do, or with a feeling of sacrifice. I have done this journey only because of love and because, as every human being, I was aiming for happiness, which is the best thing that a human being can pursue. And coming in India, and from a certain point onward, working for the children, taking these little children in my hands, staying with them. You have seen a few photographs. That is a sequence of marvelous moment, which I was been so lucky to have the possibility to live. I have been the happiest of the men, sincerely, no sacrifice, nothing which is even in a drop, something which was a difficulty or a sacrifice for me, only happiness. This happiness, thanking God, I have brought back in my family, who had supported the missing of Papa or of the husband for Gloria for these many, many missions, but eventually I think that this has repaid, because the 1st of June of this year, we have celebrated with Gloria the golden wedding, surrounded by 7 granddaughters, 6 granddaughters and 1 grandson, heroical little Michele, who resists among the 6th little sister and cousin. So I can say that even if you miss, if you come back in time and you bring joy, then there is a reciprocal growth. So I was thinking to speak also of the story of Lala, but apart that the president has made the sign, we had conceived that it was the time which was assigned for my speech. I have heard that practically both Carol and Nicholas have given enough information about how I met him in June. I want only to add one little thing. Also, that meeting was driven by faith, because I had missed the flight. They had put me for the first time in a 5-star hotel, the Indian Airlines. I went, I met Lala, and the key moment was when the coconut seller appeared. I was on the beach aiming for a beautiful meditation in front of the sunset. I made it like that, because generally I wear always shirts with a pocket to have something ready, but I had left the hotel in a t-shirt, so I had not money. So Lala jumped on his feet and came near me. He was sitting silently at my side with the 2 big bags, and he said, having understood that I was Italian, in a way, little Italian, as Arian did in a wonderful way in the film yesterday you have seen. I said, substantially said, may I invite you for a good coconut? So in that moment, 2 thoughts passed in my mind. One was, I say yes and goodbye to my beautiful meditation, very important for a Westerner in front of a sunset on the Arabic Sea. And the other, thank God, was, how can I refuse the gift of a little child? Yes. So, thank you. So I said yes, and I was ready to see him opening his bag and trying to sell. But as Nicholas has reminded, he didn't open the bag. By the will of God, he started telling his story of courage, of endurance, of great faith, great sense of humor. And I understood that God had gifted me a story that I could narrate to my daughters, to let them understand why Papa was coming so many times in India, leaving them sometime, even in a sorrow, but a country where this kind of thing could happen. Thank you.